Okay, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of the troubleshooting for this 1965 Ampeg Gemini 1 model G12. In the last video, we did some work on the reverb. We changed some power capacitors and so forth, cleaned the thing up a bit, and explored the schematic. In this video, we're going to do some troubleshooting on the tremolo and also do a demonstration of this amplifier. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please stick around. Okay, we're back with this Ampeg, and we've got a problem with the tremolo. Everything else is working fine. I've actually replaced a couple of more components, replaced a couple of bypass capacitors, this one here and one tucked in over there. But the tremolo roach that was in here, this component, I suspect to be bad because I have actually troubleshot the whole thing. This is actually, these are all oscillating. Here are the capacitors for the tremolo. All the tremolo stuff is over here conveniently enough. It's all tucked in together. These are the leads that go to the light for the tremolo to make it the photoresistor change value. The photoresistor, weirdly enough, I'll show you what we're looking at here in terms of schematic. The photoresistor, you see that M1 right there? Right, see the intensity pot? And then right below that you see something labeled M1. Well, that is where the photoresistor goes. And strangely enough, the other half, the light, is over here on this circuitry, and that's that M1 right there. The light is actually working. It oscillates. You can actually, or this whole circuit here oscillates, and the light does flicker on and off, and it changes with speed, as it should. The intensity works to intensify the light and dim it, and so forth. So all of this componentry, this circuitry is all working correctly. So my biggest suspect was this guy right here, and we're going through some tests to figure out which value photoresistor we need to make this thing work. Alright, this is what a modern photoresistor looks like. It has two leads. It changes whenever light falls upon it. Changes values. I have a couple of different values here. I bought a bunch of these off of eBay at one point from China because they're just made so cheap. It's tough not to go ahead and just buy a few. And plus they'll last me a good long while. I think there's like 20 in each packet. I have already tested this packet. They are not working. I've already tested this packet and they're not working. So I'm down to my last packet, so I thought I'd go ahead and film this last packet to see if we can get this thing working. I'll show you what I'm doing to try to make it work. The lights that we're using are these lights. These are these little miniature lights, and if you need some of these, there's where you can get them. Nemotronics.com. I mean, you can use a lot of different lights, but that's the ones I use. And when you roll your own roach, it should look something sort of like this. Here was the old one. It's much smaller. Here's one I rolled for another amplifier at one point and didn't use it. Alright, the photoresistor, the last one I want to test, is inside of this little piece of shrink tubing. I've got it facing down, kind of out of the way of any light source at the moment. And we're just going to kind of hit a note on the guitar and see if we can shine a light on it and make it change. You can see that it's actually working, so. Cool. So we know that that was the component that was bad, first of all, and second of all, this is the value that we need to make it work. Okay, here's what we're going to need to build a roach. We're going to need some shrink tubing first of all. We're going to need 2 pieces for the legs of our photoresistor. We're going to need 2 pieces for the legs of our light. We're also going to need a small resistor with the light, and these lights actually come with the small resistor, so we're going to chop one of these legs off and put a resistor in series. This is the part number for the light, C2A. If you do go to this Memotronics website, that's what you'll be looking for, part number C2A. So that's those. We'll also need a piece of shrink tubing that will just fit over the light, and a larger piece of shrink tubing that's going to seal everything up at the ends. This is what it should look somewhat like whenever we're done. These are finished roaches up here. This is the one I pulled out of the amp, and this is one that I made for another amp previously. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our light, and we're going to clip one of the legs off because they're just longer than we need it to be. We're going to clip one of them off so that we can add the resistor in series. So we clip that off. So you should end up with something like this with the resistor in series on one of the legs. Now we're going to straighten out this leg and add our shrink tubing. You want the shrink tubing to go all the way up on both legs. And shrink that on down. Alright, there's our finished light, and now we are going to do our photoresistor, and basically all we need to do here is just chop some of this length off of these pieces of shrink tubing. We'll add those to the photoresistor and shrink those down also. Alright, there are 2 parts with the shrink tubing on the legs, and the light has the resistor in series. Now the next thing to do is to get a piece of larger shrink tubing and fit down over the light. From one end, and we'll put our photoresistor in the other end, and we will shrink this down also. That's going to hold the whole thing together. Alright, so there's our finished roach with our 4 leads. I think on this one we're actually going to skip the larger piece of shrink tubing. We really don't need it. That's going to allow our leads to be a little more flexible. In this particular amp we're going to need that. So let's go ahead and get it back in the amp. Alright, there is our roach completely installed. I just went ahead and removed the original lead wires that were here and soldered them direct. I think the original part would have been in this little clip right here, probably. And the roach that I took out, this thing, was not original. At any rate, this is going to work well. I hope. Fingers crossed. Let's fire this thing up and see what it does or doesn't do. Okay. Cool, we have tremolo. Let's give this thing an overall test. I think we're ready to button it up and be done with it. Alright, we're finally ready to demonstrate this Ampeg Gemini 1, and I'm over here at my good friend Don's studio, and we're going to check her out, and he's going to play us some Texas. He's going to give us some Texan stuff on the guitar. Ain't that right?
$5.
For $5. Alright, just a quick note on the tremolo here. This has speed and intensity, but again, we discussed in the other part 1, he's trying to hit me with his guitar. We discussed in part 1 of this series how the intensity has this extra switch on it, and that gives you like a beat effect. Alright, another quick note on the switches. There is a hidden switch on the treble knob, so if you don't mind, play that last clip one more time there, Don. So if you're having trouble getting, you know, cutting through a mix, I guess that's what that's for. I would probably personally find that pretty useless, but it does give you, you know, it does give you that extra boost.
Push over the cliff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if your bass player just won't shut the fuck up, he's the bass player.
I'm gonna have this has got to be on here because see, this is where the Ampeg Gemini 1 goes to 11.
Exactly. Exactly.
People don't know that it's like that, but it goes to 11, and it's right there. They just don't mark it.